Checkout shares of PNC jumping alongside the market today, but it is still in the red on the year. PNC following suit with the rest of the financials, which are now the second worst performing sector in 2020. Our next guest says the regional bank could be gearing up for a rebound. Joining us now for another guest fast pitch is Kate Faddis, the CEO of Grace Capital. Kate, great to have you with us. What do you like about PNC?
I think PNC is fantastic for a number of reasons. First of all, its announced deal to buy the U.S. assets of BBVA is a game changer. It gets PNC into the Sun Belt. It gets PNC Texas, which is the crown jewel for banking assets. And they're going to get some great cost synergies out of the deal. Second thing I love about PNC is its ESG, environmental, social, and governmental factors. PNC is simply put a great corporate citizen. Okay, they've pledged $1 billion to help low-income communities and have pledged $30 million just for COVID relief. Third thing about PNC is its deposit franchise. So you think about a bank. You think it's a commodity. They take in deposits, they make loans, and that's it. They get a little spread. No, not for PNC. For PNC, almost half of its revenue comes from fees. That means its depositors like the bank, they do business with it. They're not just parking their money there. They're using asset management, insurance, other things to allow them to make a fee. Last thing about PNC's evaluation, okay? 12% return on equity, which is great. Trading at under 1.2 times price to book, the price is right. The dividend yield is north of 3%. They've doubled their dividend in the last 5 years, and the dividend should grow. So buy PNC.
Brian Kelly, one of our traders, got a question for you, Kate. BK?
Yeah, hey, Kate. So I'm curious about the new administration coming in. There's potentially that they're not very bank friendly. You've got a bank here that's trading 1.2 times book. I'm curious, one thought in the market is that banks are basically utilities, and utilities trade at 1 times book. Banks have had a tough time trading above 1 times book over the last several years. Are you concerned about an unfriendly political environment?
I am not. I think if you look at historically, banks have been protected, too big to fail, you name it. I think they're considered important assets, they're important to the economy, and I'm not concerned about that in the least.
In those times, though, Kate, when banks were protected, did their price to books fall? And I'm asking this because they could be protected and they could be viewed as too big to fail, but they could also be viewed as too big to fail because they are utilities and therefore they do command that lower price to book.
Yes, that is a good point. Since '08, the bank environment has completely changed. The regulatory environment has changed. You have much better, tighter regulation, and this is good for the banks. So I'm actually not concerned about this in the least. I think, look at what's happened with COVID. They needed the banks for the PPP loans. I think I'm very comfortable with the regulatory environment.
All right. No more time here. It is time to vote. Are you buying or selling Kate's pitch on PNC? Guy Adami, what do you say?
Mel, can you read my whiteboard?
I do know how to read. It says, I saw Frank Sinatra at the Garden State Art Center.
Yes, I did. I did see Frank Sinatra at the Garden State Art Center. And for most of our viewers, they will know that the Garden State Art Center is now the PNC Center. And Brian and Dan Nathan, who was in my head, sent me a chart in a commercial break highlighting that 160 was where we topped out last December. That would put us at about 1.7 times tangible book. That's where it goes, and that's where you pull the ripcord. Well done on the power pitch.
All right, so that is a buy. That all boils down to a buy. Tim, what do you say?
Yeah, look, I'm banking on Kate. See,
wow.
And I'm buying PNC too. And I think it's a combination of, yes, the sweet spot. We talked about the asset class. I'll leave that alone. BBVA acquisition immediately accretive. It overcomes the loss of the BlackRock asset sale, and I think a company that actually has more gearing to it in the future. So they should trade at a premium, and I think they will.
Dan?
Yeah, I thought that was a great power pitch by Kate. I'm not a buyer here at 140, and this is kind of consistent with what I was saying about buying these breakouts. That's a great fundamental case that she just made. You don't have to buy it at 140. It'll likely be back at 130 in the next few weeks or so. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And by the way, the first concert I ever went to, Guy, 1979, the Beach Boys at the Garden State Arts Center. How about that?
I love how that all comes full circle. I really do. Brian Kelly.
Exciting.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with my brother from another mother, Dan Nathan. I am concerned that this has gone too far too fast. I think Kate makes an excellent fundamental point, but the stock's gone from 105 to 140 in basically less than a month. And so I think a lot of the regulatory concerns of the new administration may not be priced in yet.
All right, so our panel is tied on this. 2 buys, 2 sells. Kate,
wow.
Before we turn it over to the viewers, do you have one last final word, one last appeal?
I'm going to stick with what I'm saying. It's gone up a lot. It's gone up, what, 25% since they reported for the quarter. But I'm gonna stick with PNC. It's a long-term buy. You gotta own it.
All right, we'll see what the viewers say. Kate, thank you. Catherine Faddis.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.